like, for instance, we tend to follow the status quo, follow what everybody else is doing, and your dad didn't do that. He stepped out. Well, he escaped 4 times, and he said, "Nope, this is not the life that I want. I want to do better for myself and my family." And I hope that more people do the same for themselves, because I was like that. I didn't do things because people said that I shouldn't or I couldn't. There was a lot of people saying I can't do something in my whole life. And I decided one day, I was like, no, I'm gonna live my life the way that I want. And it may not be what everybody else wants, and that's okay. I can be myself. Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Infinite Abilities Podcast. I am your host, Nick Yerhart, and we are here to encourage each other to find our own unique abilities. Let's go. All right, so on today's episode, we have Robert Wolf, and this guy's doing a lot. He's also fighting a lot, so I know that his story and what he does is really going to help a lot of people. So, Robert, can you tell us a little bit about yourself?
Hi, Nick. Yeah, thanks for having me on your program. I appreciate it.
Of course.
Reschedules later, but here we are. Thank God.
Yep.
Yeah, I'm Rob Wolf. I'm from Detroit, Michigan, originally. I was raised in a suburb of Detroit called Mount Clemens. Great place to grow up as a kid. I went to college at Tufts University near Boston and University of Michigan Medical School. I became a radiologist, and fortunately, I was able to train Michigan Medical School for me, which was great. Nice home state return. And then I've been practicing radiology for about 35 years. I trained at Brown for my diagnostic radiology, and then I did a neuroradiology fellowship at Yale in New Haven, Connecticut. So it wasn't until about 30 years old that actually started making a living, but we did okay and used to moonlight a lot, and we worked hard pretty much all our lives, high school on, just to try to get here. Meantime, my mom passed away. My dad passed away. Unfortunately, my mom passed away. They raised me right, I'd like to say. I'm a lucky guy. They stressed education. My dad became an OBGYN after all he'd went through. The book is about him. It's his biography, but it's a history book too, and it's also an adventure. But Dad ended up an OBGYN and delivered over 10,000 babies in the Detroit area, which is remarkable.
Wow.
That's redemption, I'd say, after everything he'd went through. Happy, jovial, jolly, no signs of PTSD. You'd never know what he went through the way he was. And so I ended up, so my job now is I'm an author. Besides being a radiologist, I still do part-time radiology. I'm fighting anti-Semitism, and I'm doing lots of book presentations and podcasts and sometimes TV and radio interviews in the fight against anti-Semitism while sharing my family's saga through some amazing stories and miracles.
And I know that your dad's story is amazing. I know the first time we talked, we went over that. So can you tell us more about your book, the name and then what it's about?
Okay if I show my book?
Of course, go ahead.
All right, so the book is called, there's a little glare, Not a Real Enemy, The True Story of a Hungarian Jewish Man's Fight for Freedom. It's won 4 awards, which I don't even know what to do with that. That was in 2023, and I'm not the type to sit on my laurels or pat myself on the back. I do appreciate the book awards. It's quite an honor, but it does mean that some important people that are in the know, people that read professionally, edit professionally, appreciate the importance of the work and the quality of the work. So, but if the words don't help me in the fight against anti-Semitism, if I can't convert some people's way of thinking with the book, then the rewards don't mean a thing. But Not a Real Enemy, The True Story of a Hungarian Jewish Man's Fight for Freedom is exactly that. Biography about my dad, 4-time escape artist. He escaped twice from forced labor camps, slave labor camps in Nazi Hungary, and then twice under communist Hungary, once as a medical student And finally, in 1956, he escaped the country with my mom after the Hungarian Revolution.
Mm-hmm.
So very few people, other than historians and people from the area, know a lot about Hungary's history. And so the
Mm-hmm.
book is a history book too. It's history light. It ranges from the end of World War One, where my dad's father was on a Red Cross ship during World War One as a doctor. He was a captain on a Red Cross ship in the Black Sea, and ended up practicing dentistry in Hungary. And we carry all the way to the end of the Hungarian Revolution in '56. Like I said,
Mm-hmm.
um, 3,000 people died in that war. My mom and dad were frontliners in that war. By the time that war came about, mom was a medical student and she ran the blood bank, and dad was already an OBGYN, and he had to double down as a trauma surgeon. So he was working
Mm-hmm.
pretty much 24/7 for about 2 weeks, 2.5 weeks during that war. So talk
Wow.
about burnout. But they made it
Yeah.
through there. But by then, between all the persecution and the hatred and the anti-Semitism, they had had enough. Two wars, two regimes that were dictatorial, and they had had enough. Meanwhile, in between, besides the four escapes, well, it's an adventure because my dad had many other adventures besides his escapes. Many
Mm-hmm.
miracles in the book, too many miracles to just let sit on a computer or on a disk that I wanted to share with the world, and
Yeah.
a lot of lessons involved with the book as well. So it's my family's saga, including his parents, their trials and tribulations, and ultimately the biography that I turned biography from my dad's autobiography, actually, that they wrote in the '70s.
Mm-hmm.
The adventure part is self-explanatory, and the book, to me, or they tell me, it's an amazing book. I mean, I thought so too when we first wrote it, but
Mm-hmm.
it's been a 6-year project, 20 edits and counting, thousands of hours on the book. For prospective writers, I'd say if you want to write a book, start right away. Don't procrastinate. Expect hard work, and expect some high points and low points, because that's part of the business too. For me, it's not.
Yeah.
It's more of a labor of love. There's more
Mm-hmm.
to life than food, shelter, clothing. Although there were
Mm-hmm.
parts in the book when my dad was desperately on the run, where food, clothing, and shelter were everything. So,
Mm-hmm.
there's that too. So, yeah, the book's well received. Four Escapes. I'm doing a lot of talks about it and trying to fight anti-Semitism, and you get the gist of anti-Semitism in the background throughout the book, pretty much from the very beginning.
Yeah, and I like that your book's got more than one reason. There's more than one like thing that people take out of it. Number one, you bring awareness to what happened. Number two, you're sharing your dad's story, which is truly incredible. I lost my dad 5 years ago, so I love that you're sharing your father's story. And then another thing, it sounds like there's a lot of life lessons to be learned in that book.
That's a great question. I'm sorry for your loss. You're a young man, too young to lose your dad. I thought my dad was
Thank you.
young too. He was 74, but he had two open heart surgeries in the United States. That
Mm-hmm.
if they never made it to this country, he had two surgeries at the Cleveland Clinic, which is pretty well esteemed. It's one of the best medical centers in the country, especially for cardiovascular. But he survived
Yeah.
two open heart surgeries on top of practicing OBGYN. But in Hungary, the illness that he had was not treatable. They didn't have the mechanic. They didn't have any way to treat. Maybe now they do. I don't know how
Mm-hmm.
far their science and technology have gone. But the life's lessons, we could sit here for 2 hours and talk about them. I mean, determination, the will to
Mm-hmm.
live, integrity, resilience, strategy, survival, just on and on. Just fear, humiliation, catastrophe, but also joy. And most of all, for us Americans and people who live in the free world, the parallels, the Hungarian Revolution, sort of a parallel with the Ukraine War. I call the Ukraine War the Hungarian Revolution on steroids, because we're talking about 2 years now rather than 2 weeks, which is unfortunate for the
Yeah.
Ukrainians and for the Russian
Mm-hmm.
people too, sadly. Um,
Mm-hmm.
we also compare to the Israeli attacks because people might say, well, what happened 50, 60, 80 years ago has nothing to do with what happened nowadays. It does. It has everything to do with that. It's still hate. It's still
Mm-hmm.
the fight against anti-Semitism and the hatred in general. These people do not just hate Jewish people and Israel. They hate Americans, and they hate the
Mm-hmm.
free thinking. They hate Christians, the LGBTQ population, and probably even African American. I don't know. People that are lauding Hitler back from World War II don't understand history, and they don't understand they were his enemies too. And after the Jews, they were next. And so there's all of that kind of compiled into 400 pages, but it's an easy read. A lot of people say they can't put the book down. Myself too. Once I started working on the book, it was really hard to put down, except when I read and redid stories about my dad's parents perishing at Auschwitz, which was not pretty. I had to walk away from working on the book at least a week after I read that and translated it and changed it to biography. My mom's grandfather, a rabbi, also perished at Auschwitz. There's not as much about my mom's family growing up, but my mom had it relatively. It was quite less severe for my mom in World War II. She hid in farms and in Christian homes with her mom and her grandmother. So not quite as harrowing an experience for my mom, but still hiding in fear like Anne Frank had to, and so many other Jewish people, and the fear of Christians who helped hide them too. They were putting their lives at risk, their well-being, big time. So, and it's the same under the communists, the people that helped my parents escape from communist Hungary, the same thing. So there are great stories of some philanthropy of people that are helping each other out. So there's hatred, but there's love, and it's all mixed in, and it's like good cop, bad cop, friend versus enemy. Really, and that's another thing. Twists and turns are in the book. People that you think would be your friends turn out to be your enemies. People that you thought would be your enemies turn out to be your friends. Cloak and dagger stories. My dad arguing with armed Russian soldiers. No knives for him. No guns. No fisticuffs. Just brains and guts and intestinal fortitude, as I guess you might say. Some luck, a lot of luck, and well, I prefer to say the hand of God. In that kind of lesson. Even my dad thought God was on his side, even though he wasn't really that religious a person.
Well, I feel like a lot of us, even if we're not religious, sometimes we just have those events in our lives and we're just like, all right, that had to be God, or whoever you believe in. I know I've gone through that where I wasn't very religious. I am now because of all the times that I've gotten throughout my life. It's like, I'm gonna follow God.
Well, good for you. It's never too late to do the right thing. It's another lesson
Yeah.
that I say to the kids too in radiology. There's no substitute for experience. I noticed as my mom and dad they got older and they got a little bit more religious. The fear of God is there as you get older and you're ready to meet your maker. It's never too late to change vectors, especially if it's for good things. I think what I'm doing now is as important as practicing radiology. I'm not as compensated for it as I was right now. This is sort of my giving back to the Jewish religion. And maybe I will get religious over time. I'm very spiritual, and I observe some of the holidays. I'm just not as orthodox as some, but more so than others. But it's never too late to give back to the community, give back to your religion. And I think that's kind of what I'm doing now is trying to help out my people. I shouldn't say my people, our people, or people in general would be the right way to say it, by realizing how far hate and anti-Semitism and persecution can take somebody. And it doesn't have to be at a prison camp, concentration camp like Auschwitz. You could be in some forced labor camp in the middle of nowhere, or downtown Budapest, or where you're hiding and you're hiding your identity. That's another humiliation, having to hide your identity instead of wearing those stupid the gold stars. Or in my dad's case, they had to wear these gold bands on their arms to identify them as Jewish laborers, and these silly caps, unarmed and nevertheless attacked in certain circumstances. So religion is a part of it, but we don't push religion, but it is just if you believe in God and you read this book, you say, that's it certainly is possible to get help from a higher being. When you talk about split-second escapes and amazing miracles that my dad was fortunate enough to come upon.
Yeah, that's amazing. And I feel like a lot of us have we kind of go through that where we get this label on us and we get kind of told that we have to follow it. Like I like, for instance, we tend to follow the status quo, follow what everybody else is doing, and your dad didn't do that. He stepped out. Well, he escaped 4 times, and he said, "Nope, this is not the life that I want. I want to do better for myself and my family." And I hope that more people do the same for themselves, because I was like that. I didn't do things because people said that I shouldn't or I couldn't. It was a lot of people saying I can't do something in my whole life. And I decided one day, I was like, no, I'm gonna live my life the way that I want. And it may not be what everybody else wants, and that's okay. I can be myself. And since I made that decision, I've been a much happier person ever since.
Well, good for you. You know, who deserves it more? And you probably have a book yourself inside of you somewhere. I'm sure you. I'm sure you do. You were talking. We were sharing our histories, and what you've been
Yep.
through is amazing. And how you've overcome that, driving a car and
Mm-hmm.
running podcasts. I mean, I don't even
Yep.
know how to run a podcast. I'm usually a guest, not so tech savvy, but I couldn't say it better myself. I mean, short of breaking the law or
Yeah.
overtly breaking religious laws, let's say, like the Ten
Yep.
Commandments, or the
Mm-hmm.
Jewish law, there's 613 commandments. Well, for me, that's kind of a lot for me, but some people observe them all. But short of disobeying the law and creating havoc, no, I think people should pursue their dreams. And if they're not happy with what's going on, then change vectors, change what you're
Yep.
doing, pivot. It's never too late.
Yep. I agree. I agree so much. And how can people find your book?
Okay, well, if you Google me or Robert J. Wolf, MD, you'll find me.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, I'm
Okay.
on social media across the board, Facebook or Meta as they call it
Awesome.
now, and I've got a Facebook author page. So I'm Rob Wolf on Meta, but it's Not a Real Enemy by Robert Wolf on my Facebook author page. So if you want to follow me on Facebook, I do post a lot about the book. I don't post daily like I used to, but still 2 3 days
Mm-hmm.
a week at least. I've got so much content to post between podcasts and interviews
Yep.
and photographs and trips. I don't want to get off the subject, but I just came back from my second 2 day book signing at the United States Holocaust Museum in Washington
Mm-hmm.
D.C., which is a great experience. It's really an honor and privilege to do that. That was a great way to meet people, an experience that I could do every day, given that opportunity. Obviously, it's not
Yeah.
possible, but I'm doing whatever I can in lieu of. But that was a great. So yeah, we talked about that on social media. I'm also on Twitter or X as at
Mm-hmm.
Robert J. Wolf MD. Same thing with Instagram at Robert J. Wolf MD. And I'm also on LinkedIn. I'm pretty active on LinkedIn, just Robert J. Wolf, and you can find me there. The book
Okay.
you can just about anywhere. It's on Amazon.
Mm-hmm.
Proud to announce that we just have the audio book is out now, so that's available if
Ooh.
you're into books. The
Mm-hmm.
ebook is available, and we also have hardback and paperback, all available on Amazon. You can also buy the
Awesome.
book at Barnes and Noble. It's on the shelves at least 10 or 15 Barnes and Noble stores throughout the country, which is great. But Barnes and Noble
Mm-hmm.
online, Walmart. My alma mater, Tufts, it's on sale at the Tufts bookstore if you happen to be in the Boston area in the Tufts University area. Beautiful campus. And then at 4 Holocaust museums, the book's available at the Holocaust Museum in D.C. We also did a presentation last year at the Illinois Holocaust Museum and Education Center, so the book's available there. The Long Island Holocaust Museum, where I have a book talk and signing coming up in March, and also the Michigan Zeckelman Holocaust Center in Michigan. So, and
Mm-hmm.
hopefully over time more to come. So the book's easy to
Yep.
find. Most people get it on Amazon. You'll see the
Mm-hmm.
link all over the place if you. Oh, and I have a website, robertjwolfmd.com. You can find that if you want a little bit. I've got a lot of videos, a lot of like podcasts and TV interviews,
Mm-hmm.
and then a few videos that cover a little bit more about World War II and the Hungarian Revolution. A lot of content, nice reviews about the website, and then I've got a YouTube channel too, Robert J. Wolf, or Not a Real Enemy by Robert J. Wolf. I think it is.
Mm-hmm.
You can't miss it. We got about I don't know, maybe 30 or 40 videos on our YouTube channel. So So Google
Awesome.
Robert J. Wolf, MD, or Google Not a Real Enemy, and you'll find me. And please hop on and feedback welcome on the book. If you're interested in helping me fight anti-Semitism, please invite me for a podcast, a book presentation. I do Zoom. I'll do live. I've just been invited to University of South Carolina to do a talk in May. That's a fantastic icebreaker, because I would like to ultimately have the book in the classroom more, educate the kids, educate families on anti-Semitism. So that's what I'm trying to do. It's a long process. It's a marathon, not a sprint, but the book's easy to find. And if you like it, please reach out. Tell your friends, tell your enemies of your friends, tell your wife, tell your girlfriend, tell your wife's boyfriend. No, I'm just kidding. But, so you got to have a little sense of humor in this, because it's a very serious subject, and, when we talk about persecution and death and murder and torture and financial destitution, homelessness, joblessness, and the fear of death on a daily basis, it's a serious subject, but I try to lighten it up a little bit by Dad had a happy ending, and I'm lucky to be here. He was lucky to be here. My mom as well. So that's the bottom line, and we're all lucky if we're here alive in the United States and thriving, got shelter and food, and a job or whatever. That's it. It's awesome. You can't beat it. Time with family, time on vacation, time to write a book, time to read a book, that kind of thing. So, and not be told where to stand and what to do and how to do it while they're about to kill you. So, yeah, please find the book. Please reach out. Help us fight anti-Semitism, and you'll be doing the world and yourselves a big favor. I've got great support from my grandkids. I got their step-grandkids, step-kids and grandkids. Great support. A few have already been to the Holocaust Museum, showed me pictures of the book, holding the book, told the staff about me. And then a few months later, I'm there doing book signing. So that's kind of cool, too.
That's really cool. Really cool. I got another question. So my slogan is, your abilities are infinite. What does that mean to you?
That's it's a great. I love that. I love your attitude, and it's true. I mean, you can, if you're bored, if you're tired of your work, or go part time, change vectors, do something different. Write a book, like I said. Write a poem. Write an opera. Write a movie. Travel. Change jobs. Spend more time with your family. Go to sports events. Go see a movie. Do things that are fulfilling to your life. Do things that are different. So the possibilities of being happy are definitely infinite. You don't have to suffer through what you're suffering. Don't go protesting at NYU or Columbia and to start hating people. It's a waste of your time. It's a waste of my time. Be productive in this world. Enjoy your family. Life is short, and life isn't infinite, but we do have opportunities to make our own lives better, and preferably the lives of other people too. So when you say infinite possibilities, that's great. You've done it yourself. You've proven it. I don't know what else I can do that's more important or more relevant than this book, but maybe it'll come to me. In God's maybe in God's hands, something will come to me. But for now, this is what I'm doing. But anything's possible. When I started this project 6 years ago in a cold, dark, lonely office, typing this up, I never thought that the book would go as far as it has, and that to me it's a miracle. But it's also hard work, the love of God, and people interested in what good quality work is. And by the way, a shout out to my co-author Janice Harper, who's also a fellow Michigander originally. Now she's at Washington State. She did an amazing job helping me with this book, coaching, and if it weren't for her, we wouldn't be here. This and all the other things I've been able to do with it, as well as Amsterdam Publishers, our publishing house, who took us on literally bottom of the ninth, shoestring catch, almost done to query, agents and publishers, almost going to self-publish, which there's nothing wrong with that. Many authors self-publish, but it was nice getting traditional publishers. So I never thought that. And 6 years ago, if you knew me, you'd say this guy would never write about the Holocaust. And because my parents were Holocaust educators, and I was more of not a denier, but I got sort of saturated by it, the first half of my life. I got the zap later. So yeah, infinite possibilities. Anything. Treat yourself right, treat your friends right, stop and think about how you want to change vectors, and anything is possible. What is it, Jimi Hendrix, with the power of soul, anything is possible? He's not the only one who, Government Mule did a version of that song. I love that song, but anything is possible.
Yep. Well, Thank you for sharing that. And then what would you like to leave with the audience?
What's that again about the audience?
What message would you like to leave the audience?
Well, like enjoy life, enjoy what we have in the free country. Let's not mess it up. Let's curtail these protests. If people want to move or they don't like the way the country's run, they can vote. They can run for office. They can run for office in Gaza if they want. Please don't unify all Jews into a corner and say don't be, and not just Jews, African Americans and the LGBTQ and Hispanics. Don't be a sheep. I know you talked about that the sheep going along with the sheep concept.
Yeah.
No, don't be yourself. Determination is good. Integrity is an important thing. Team play is an important thing. But basically, appreciate what we have while we have. Don't. And if you don't like people fighting and protesting, please call your Congress and get help. As long as the police and the government are protecting me and you and others, I'm okay with it. But once it turns into something that happened to my mom and dad, where you had no friends that were armed, the police, the government, and then you were in trouble. So enjoy our freedoms. I can't say enough things about my dad, who's just such a role model that if you read the book, it'll change you a little bit. I think it really would. If you read the book cover to cover, it will change you, and I hope that's the case. And again, help me fight the cause, even if it's not through my book. Do it your own way. If we're not friends with each other, then we're enemies, and if we're enemies, then our society as we know it's going to change in the next 10, 20, 30 years big time. And if you have kids and grandkids, something to consider too. So I agree. All right, Rob, this has been really great. So thank you for being on the show. Nick, thanks for having me. I appreciate it. I'm glad we got it in, and it was really a nice interview, and I appreciate your time and support. Thank you so much. Of course. If you enjoyed this show, please go ahead and share it on your Instagram story and tag me in the Nick Yerhart. Also, go ahead and share it anywhere else that you see fit, because the only way that I can grow this is by you guys sharing it. I don't sell anything on here. I don't have any sponsors, so let's just get it out there by word of mouth and help more people. Alright, everyone, remember, your abilities are infinite.